What is going on, guys? My name is Kai, and Coiner22 is how you can track me down on the PSN. And this is the next episode of Gameplay Analysis. As you probably saw, just based on the number of custom classes I had open, this is a little bit older game. I had it on my hard drive, wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it, so went back, watched it, and figured I'd bring it to you guys. It's a pretty decent game. There's some good, I guess, kind of reminders, tips in here that I want to bring to you guys, things that I know I kind of forget now and again. So, you know, if I forget them, never hurts to remind, kind of remind everyone else. So right up here is the first two things I want to talk about. Actually, you see, I chuck that nade. Nade goes off. Nade your hotspots. Obviously, it's domination. People are going to be heading towards the B flag, but by monitoring your possible spawns, it also helps you predict where you need to throw those nades. That wasn't a random nade based on where my team is. Obviously, I know that the enemy's not spawning on C side, and because of where I am, the fact that I was moving around, changing the directions that I was looking in, and then right here I love the guy with the SMG and no flak jacket or anything. He's capping B solo, but I knew the enemy was going to be spawning behind me in the back wood area, back by that landing strip or the back shack, whatever you want to call it. So I used that to obviously nade B anyway, but also threw it a little bit further so that way it was catching guys coming up that center ramp. Fast forwarding through all this, it's kind of, I don't want to waste you guys' time watching me run around, but teammate calls in the Blackbird, and right about here we get countered. So commit it to memory. How many times have you guys had your Blackbirds countered or your teammate's Blackbird countered the second you call it in? It is, sometimes it's coincidence. People just happen to call in their Blackbirds, right when you're calling in, or calling in counters right when you're calling in Blackbirds. But you get killed by corner camping ghost bitches occasionally. But the counter UAV, the counter spy plane, obviously the name, you're thinking, okay, counter the spy planes. Remember, that's your main line of defense against the Blackbird, guys. And when you've got a Blackbird up, obviously, a lot of times you just go, you turn on the automatic, you turn on the blinders, and you just go auto. You're running to where the red triangles are, and you're just spraying, you're killing. But very quickly, you get countered, and at the same time you kind of get disoriented. You're not thinking of kind of remembering where the enemy is, where they could be. So commit it to memory right there. Barely dodge that nade, chuck a nade again, and nade the hot spots. Again, based on where my team is, we have this upper portion of the map kind of cut off, so I know enemies down in firing range are going to be coming up, and that center ramp is probably the more popular of the three flanking routes to head up. Right here, little fancy jump shot. I don't know why I did that. I could have very easily gotten killed there. But yeah, so clear this guy off of B. And the next thing I want to talk about is going to be right up here. Pick off this guy, and then you'll see I go for the knife there. I get killed by the guy camping in the back with his G11, but you ain't Blade, baby. The panic knife, the knife in general, it is a great tool. It's a very easy way to, get someone if they're not paying attention or something like that. But at the same time, guys, if you got bullets, sometimes those are going to better serve you to pick up the kill. I still had about half my clip left. I probably could have picked off that second guy since I have rapid fire on my MPL here before that G11 killed me. So a little bit of host migration right there. And again, I'm going to fast forward through this stuff. One thing that I do want to point out with these napalms is you'll notice the way that I'm calling them in. I'm using them to basically cut off half the map. If I can control a portion of the map, then with that napalm, I'm effectively controlling at least half of the map. I'm holding down B, obviously, because I'm running the napalm over it. And it's kind of an early warning sign, too. I'm sure you guys are aware of this and run into it yourselves. God, that guy, the G11 ghost camping in the back. That invisible napalm flame, the napalm tends to be effective longer than it is visible. So, in some ways, it's cheap and it kind of sucks when you get killed by it, but at the same time, if it can be used to your advantage, you might as well. It's one of those things I hate to say, take advantage of game mechanics, but if it's going to happen, you might as well use it to your advantage. That's what it is. It's about making the game to your advantage, more or less. So right there, change up your angle. You'll notice I threw that nade and then moved around. I know I do it all the time, and I'm sure you guys do too. If you see grenades coming in from a direction, noob tubes, bullets, anything, you tend to look in that direction. That's where you're basically being told the enemy's coming from. You're going to start shooting that way. You're going to kind of respond. You're going to counter nade. You're going to stun over there. You're going to stun over there. And yeah, so if you guys are, especially in hot areas when you know you've got enemies coming in, throw your nades, your flashes, your stuns, whatever it is, and then move. Change up the angle you're shooting from, because it's going to give you a little bit of an advantage. You know, they're not going to be expecting you to be coming from that direction, given the fact that they're thinking nade came from spot A, I should be going to spot A instead of looking at spot B. You know, so right there, pick up the knife, and I get so lucky here. I could have very easily been killed by either of those guys and or the nade. I think he was just kind of, I don't know, there might have been too much going on for him to kind of comprehend, and that was a horrible napalm. I know I was just talking about effective use of napalms. You guys may or may not know the way that the napalm actually gets deployed is different from the reticle, I guess, if you want to call it, the targeting reticle. So that back, the actual, what looks like an actual reticle, the napalm deploys kind of behind there and extends a little further than the directionality than the map of the napalm suggests it would. So in all reality, I probably should have dropped that, the reticle of it more or less right on that back firing range building. It would have picked up, it would have deployed back into the firing range spawn area, carried up that center ramp, and been a lot more effective. Calling the dogs here, and this is a point where I start getting kind of careless. Not in terms of I'm getting killed over and over again, but you'll notice Blackbird's up, and my teammates and I are just running back and forth. We're not being smart about these spawns and kind of maintaining the spawn. Not necessarily even spawn trapping, but just we're all running back and forth. So what that does is every time one of us kills one or two guys, we're then pushing their spawn back to the top side of the map or the bottom side, depending on where we're at. And it's totally screwing us on kills. This could have been a much higher kill game for myself and my teammates had we been a little bit smarter about all that. So that guy, I'm not going to be mad at that time for camping in the corner. You know, when dogs get called in, that's one of the most effective ways to assure you stay alive is get yourself a spot to kind of bunker down and pick off the dogs as they come in for you. So the only downside is that you're going to be so focused on just emptying your clip into the dogs that you're going to kind of forget about your enemies. But game comes to an end right about here. And yeah, so one thing that I'm going to actually talk about in the next video, you guys will hopefully appreciate. But for now, this is Quanger signing out.